Hello, welcome to the studio. I have had a request to show you what I do when I first get into the studio and I first start a piece. So kind of when I get inspired in the landscape, down to what I do when I first come into the studio and how I begin a piece. So I'm going to show you that now. If you want to see more videos, do subscribe to the channel. And you can also see lots more of my work and see if I've got any courses going on at the moment at my website, ruthander.co.uk, or you can follow me on Instagram at ruthanderprints. So I thought I'd show you how I started this series of prints. This is one of a series, and it was actually a commission. So I was taken up to the landscape that this was based on, which is called Charles Down on the Berkshire-Hampshire border. And this actually ended up being a dry point. So these lines here, field lines, and this patch of trees here was actually scratched into a dry point plate. And that was printed several times. And as I printed that in the press, I also collaged in this paper here, which is actually monoprinted tissue paper collaged into the paper as it went through the press. Yeah, I think that's all that happened when it actually went through the press. And then subsequently it came back to the studio and got more collage on it. This is monoprint marks here, and I think this is collage again as well. And this is how it ended up. But I'm going to show you how I started off, first of all. So as I say, I was taken up to this landscape by the people who commissioned the work. A beautiful landscape. Now, you may not realise that from these very scratchy drawings, but this is what I started off doing. I wanted to get the roll of the land. It was a really beautiful rolling landscape, and I just wanted to get lines, feelings, and sort of like the feel of where the undergrowth was kind of coming through, and then the feel of the big sky as well. And so what I do when I do sketchbook work, generally speaking, I don't really do very realistic pictures. I do lines, shapes. I've got a few notes here. I sometimes do colour notes. I do things quite quickly. I'm not a great lover of sitting outside. I mean, I love walking, but I don't particularly like sketching outside. And you can see this sketchbook here these are some other ones actually, but they are mainly compositional sketches. And I write little notes about colour and composition and things like that. This was another sketch from the time I went to, for this particular piece. And I just really loved the juxtaposition of the trees in the distance. And there was a big tree here as well. So it really is quite simple, scratchy drawings that I start with. And then here I've also got photographs. Now these have actually been printed out in black and white. My colour printer wasn't working at the time. So it really doesn't, to me, it doesn't matter if I do colour or black and white printouts. Sometimes I work from the photos on my phone, but if I want a larger image to work from, I will print them out. And it just helps me with details, really, I suppose, if I need them. And so that is the same view as the sketch that I've just shown you, with a bit more detail. But what I'm not really looking for lots of detail. I am looking for composition, I'm looking for feel, I'm looking for horizon lines and scale. So that's what these all help me with. So the next stage that I get to is then working out, or just running through lots of different compositions. So I use those photographs and sketches to work out, well, just to really play a bit really with composition. So horizon lines, sky. I wanted to get that kind of flow feeling of the fields. So how can I do that? How can I make those lines flow? And then also, I very often look at scale. So I might put something in the foreground that's small, or something up here that's quite small, to bring out the vastness of a landscape. So that's where the horizon line is in the middle. I might try one here where horizon line is quite far down. That means I miss out all those lovely rolling fields and land at the bottom there. But what it does mean is that I could get some really dramatic sky things going on here. And I know that with monoprint, as you might have seen with some of my other videos, you know, you can get some really lovely dramatic skies going on. So that could be the main emphasis of the piece. So I've kind of got in the back of my head here that what kind of techniques I could possibly use, you know, what kind of marks I might be able to make, where the dry point or the etching might come in, where, you know, collage might be good. And I can make lines here that sort of draw the eye in. So I've got quite a high horizon line there. And, you know, for this particular piece, it was this clump of trees that had a very particular shape that the customer wanted, and that's the view that they always saw. So as long as that was in there, then I can sort of work with that. And everything else can kind of fall into place around it. But what's going to be most dramatic, what's going to give a real feel for the place? I like this. And, you know, there could be a bit of artistic license here. I could exaggerate certain things. I could make certain things kind of almost be off the page. So what will often happen then is that I will make a dry point plate, and I think I'll make another video to show you how I do that and how I print with that. But for the purposes of this video, when I actually come to monoprint in my home studio, hand printing either over the top of a dry point or perhaps just going straight in and making a hand monoprint, quite a painterly print, I will sit down and mix my colours, and that can take me quite a while sometimes. I use oil paint, and I just use these, these cardboard spatulas. I have lots of leftover mount card. And I mix my colours up, and often I will mix a whole palette of different colours just to give me that choice and that inspiration, I suppose, because often it's the colours that inspire me. So get those mixed, and I tend to just use a Prussian blue, a cadmium red, a lemon yellow, and a titanium white. And I mix most of my colours, so these three colours are being mixed with those three, and white. And then I will just get going. I will do a print session, and then I'll usually let the prints dry and work on them again, probably let them dry and work on them again. So that is how I get from walking in the landscape to my first print.